Discover the incredible moment she leaped into a stranger's arms, an amazing love story revealed. The county fair was alive with glittering lights and the sweet scent of caramel apples mingled with popcorn. It was a magical atmosphere that Sarah Andrews never grew tired of. This year, it felt even more electric as the sky filled with colors that made her heart thump with a mix of anxiety and hope. This was supposed to be a joyful evening, but looming clouds of worry shadowed her. Just days before, she learned that her spirited daughter, Emily, had become a target for a group of wealthier classmates. For a single mother trying to keep a tight-knit farm afloat and raise a teen, this news felt like a gut punch. As she held Emily's hand, guiding her through the buzzing crowd, Sarah could feel the tension radiating off her daughter. The teenage world could be a cruel place, especially for someone who lived on the economic edge. While other girls strode confidently in their expensive outfits, Emily wore the same jeans and flannel she always did, colored by rural life and the absence of luxury. Sarah's heart ached as the realization settled in. Emily was battling old insecurities that manifested into something sharp and terrifying called bullying. Amid this storm of emotions, she caught sight of Jake, a veteran-turned-mechanic, who often lent his quiet strength to every encounter. He walked with a gentle demeanor that softened the edges of even the roughest days. Sarah's chest tightened. Could she allow herself to lean on someone again? Love felt like a forbidden treasure, as heavy as the winter coats they wore, a luxury she could scarcely afford. Suddenly, the first fireworks blasted into the night with a bang. Emily's face lit up like the skies above. For that brief moment, the sad shadows of school life melted away as they pointed excitedly at each burst of color. The joy in her daughter's eyes melted Sarah's reservations a bit, and she found herself inching closer to Jake, who stood nearby, captivated by the scene. In a daring whirl of adrenaline, Sarah approached him, her heart pounding like the beats of the fireworks. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" she said, her voice barely rising above the roar of excitement around them. As they talked, the barriers between their pasts began to fade. Just then, another explosion of colors erupted overhead, scattering stars into the night. The moment felt hung in time, electricity humming through her like the intermingled scent of night air and fried dough. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In that moment, with laughter swirling around them, courage bubbled inside Sarah. Without thought, she leapt into Jake's arms, her tears shimmering in the chaos of the fair. It was an instinct, a cry for solace she hadn't known she needed. Emotions flared, both the light of new beginnings and the heavy weight of past scars crashed like fireworks in the moment. But this wasn't a fairy tale without complications. As they shared this vulnerable connection, the reality of their lives loomed large above them: fears of financial instability, the worry of acceptance, and the unyielding threat of judgment loomed like smoke from the fireworks. Could Sarah embrace this raw, beautiful connection, or would she retreat back to the familiar shadows of her insecurities? As the last firework painted the sky, her heart raced with possibilities, aching for the promise of what could come next. Would love be enough to conquer their tribulations, or would society's harsh gaze separate them before they could learn to redefine worth? The warmth of Jake's embrace felt like a shield against the chilly winds of doubt swirling inside Sarah's heart. She held on for a moment longer, relishing the steadiness he offered. Wouldn't it be easy to just stay in his arms? To forget about the world outside, even for just a heartbeat? As she pulled away, Sarah noticed the way Jake's eyes crinkled at the corners, his smile genuine enough to light up the dark corners of her mind. "You all right?" he asked, genuine concern etched into his voice. It struck her how rare it was to find someone who genuinely cared, someone who could see beyond the exterior. "Yeah, I lost myself for a second," she replied, her cheeks flushed with warmth that had nothing to do with the cold air. The fair continued buzzing around them, laughter and music mingling with the lingering echoes of fireworks. Emily stood close, still entranced by the last flickers of color in the night sky. Sarah glanced at her daughter, her heart swelling with a mix of pride and protectiveness. Everything that had been troubling her felt like a weight lifted, at least for that moment. "Your daughter is amazing," Jake said softly, breaking her reverie. "Thank you," Sarah murmured, grateful. "She has been going through a lot lately. You know, the whole high school jungle." "Yeah, I can imagine." Jake looked thoughtful, his gaze drifting toward Emily. "Kids can be cruel." A short silence fell between them, heavy with unspoken understanding. Would you ever consider talking to her?" Sarah suddenly asked. The thought came out of nowhere, mingled with desperation and hope. If Emily could see how a strong man like Jake treated others with kindness, maybe it would help her feel seen herself. Jake hesitated, pondering. "If she's open to it, I'd be honored." Something in his tone gave Sarah reassurance. It was a relief to know that she wasn't alone in wanting to help her daughter navigate this storm. But somewhere deep inside her, a flicker of worry crept back. What if he wouldn't want to stick around when things got tough? "Maybe we could grab coffee sometime, just to chat more?" he suggested, slicing through her anxious thoughts. "You know, about parenting and all." "Yeah, I'd like that." Sarah smiled, genuinely this time. It felt good to think about something outside of the vortex of her worries. As the evening wore on, they moved through the fair, sharing stories and laughing under the twinkling lights. Emily would glance back often, her small smile revealing the comfort she got from seeing her mother relaxed. They joined a game booth, where Jake effortlessly won a large stuffed bear for Emily, a prize that made her eyes light up even brighter than the previous explosions in the sky. "See? You're not just a pretty face," Emily joked, and the three of them laughed, their voices intertwining with the nighttime atmosphere. But behind her laughter, Sarah felt a thread of tension. Could this light-hearted evening last? As Jake leaned closer, sharing a joke, Sarah caught his scent wood smoke and something comforting like fresh laundry. It was intoxicating. But with the thrill of connection came the creeping dread of what awaited them back in reality. Feeling bold, Sarah turned to Jake. "I'm terrified of what's going on at school. I don't know how to protect Emily." "Hey, you're doing better than you think. Just being here with her, showing love, that counts." His words were warm, wrapping around her like a blanket, but the doubt still lingered. As the fair began to wind down and the laughter began to fade, Sarah was left with a sense of longing. She wanted to believe in possibilities, but shadows of fear continued to loom ahead. What if the reality they returned to after this night wasn't as easy to navigate? What if Jake wasn't the knight she hoped he could be? The night was ending, but Sarah sensed their journey together was just beginning. What challenges awaited them when they stepped back into the world? The moment the bright lights began to dim, a soporific calm tugged at Sarah's heart. The thrill of the fair was fading just as her innocence had once before. She wasn't ready for the confrontation of their real lives waiting just outside those gates. "Let us get some hot chocolate before we leave," Jake suggested, pointing towards a small cart that was still serving customers. His excitement seemed untouched by the encroaching darkness of the night, while unease coiled tighter around Sarah. "Sure," Emily chimed, her eyes sparkling although the wind whipped around them, nudging them back into reality. As they approached the cart, Sarah could feel her mind racing. How long could this woven moment last? What if Emily's pain crept back into focus? She stole a glance at her daughter, who was watching Jake in awe as he ordered the drinks. It was as if a light had ignited in her, a brightness mixing seamlessly with the colorful fair lights. Jake turned to Sarah. "You really should try the peppermint hot chocolate. It's a game changer." "Sounds like I'm in for a treat," she replied, attempting to muster some enthusiasm. But the growing pit in her stomach warned her that treats wouldn't mend the wounds of her daughter's heart. As they stood together, waiting for their drinks, a sudden rush of people surged past them, laughing and jostling with excitement. The moment felt alive yet predicated on fragility, as if a misstep could break something precious. Emily caught sight of her reflection in a nearby glass booth. She flashed a smile, momentarily lost in the girl she was before school began to wear her down. Mom, look at that! Isn't it so cool? She pointed out, and Sarah couldn't help but smile back, even as worry hovered just out of view. Definitely. Jake leaned in to share in the excitement. You have an amazing eye, Emily. That love shone in Jake's words, igniting a spark in Sarah that resistance tried to snuff out. Her heart dipped and danced with conflicting emotions. Was it too much hope? She tugged some strands of her hair nervously, trying to center herself. The cart owner handed over their steaming cups, and Sarah took one, the warmth radiating through her fingers. She lifted it to her lips, feeling the comforting scent envelop her. For a brief moment, she wished it could wrap around her fears just the same. As they walked toward the parking lot, Emily holding her bear tightly, Jake slipped his arm around Sarah's shoulders. It felt surprisingly familiar. A pleasant shock shot through her as she leaned closer, savoring the novelty. Would she allow herself to bask in this cozy affection, risking the steep fall that waited for her tomorrow? Are you ready? Jake asked, his voice tender as he glanced down at her. Ready for what? She replied, playfully tilting her head. For whatever comes next, he said, and his confidence forced Sarah to reconsider. She found the bravery to meet his gaze, 1,000 emotions swirling within her. Maybe they could face the world together. Suddenly, Emily stopped short. Look! She exclaimed, pointing at a small group of kids nearby, their laughter drifting on the night air. They look like they're having so much fun. Sarah's heart sank as she saw the group's dynamics, the cliques formed, and the familiar awfulness of exclusion. She had tried so hard to shield Emily from that world. But maybe this moment was about something else, something more than just fear of a past she could not control. Let's go say hello, Jake suggested, as if reading her thoughts, and that simple act of boldness sent another wave of warmth through Sarah. Could he be the bridge between her daughter's world and hers? Really? Emily's eyes lit up, but Sarah hesitated. Would her daughter be welcomed? As they took a tentative step toward the group, the wind whipped around them, feeling charged with potential and anxiety. Sarah caught herself holding her breath, waiting for the moment to unfold. What would happen when they reached the kids? Would Emily shine or be dimmed further in the shadows? Whichever it was, Sarah didn't know if she could bear. Another heartache just then. One of the kids looked their way, and Jake squeezed Sarah's shoulder gently. Trust me, he whispered. Would she dare to let go of her trepidation and step into the light? One of the children, a boy with messy hair and a bright t-shirt, grinned at Emily as they approached. He was small for his age, but the confidence he exuded made him seem larger than life. Hey! You want to join us for the next ride? His voice rang out, friendly and inviting. Emily's eyes widened, flickering between hesitation and excitement. She tugged on her bear like a lifeline, unsure of herself in this new space. Sarah felt her stomach knot as she observed her daughter's struggle. Would she leap forward or retreat into her retreating shadow? Jake stepped forward, giving Emily a gentle nudge. Come on, Em. It'll be fun. Which ride? Emily asked, her voice small but curious. The Ferris wheel. It's huge and super fun at night. The boy's enthusiasm seemed contagious. A few other kids from the group chimed in, urging her on. I don't know, Emily replied, glancing back at Sarah. Her voice was barely a whisper now. The spark from earlier flickered uncertainly. Take your time, honey, Sarah said softly. She wanted to protect her, to put up barriers against potential hurt, but something about Jake's encouraging smile made her hesitate. Maybe this was a chance for Emily to reclaim a piece of herself, a piece she had lost in the confusing chaos of school and social circles. Come on, Mom. Let her try. Jake persuaded, giving Sarah's shoulder another reassuring squeeze. I'll be right here if anything goes wrong. We'll all be here, Emily, Sarah affirmed, her heart swelling with an odd mixture of fear and pride. It wasn't just about the fair. It was about stepping outside familiar confines and embracing uncertainty. With a deep breath, Emily straightened her back, courage pooling in her bright blue eyes. Okay. I'll do it, she declared. A cheer erupted from the kids, and Sarah couldn't help but feel a blush of pride mixed with the anxiety still bubbling in her chest. The group beckoned her closer, the boy ushering her to the front of the line. Sarah watched as Emily shyly joined in, her little steps gaining confidence with each word exchanged. For a moment, she was just a girl at the fair, lost in the laughter, forgetful of the anxieties that had cast shadows over her joy. "See?" Jake said softly, delight painting his expression. "She just needed a little push." Sarah smiled, an involuntary reaction fueled by relief and hope as she watched Emily interact. It was joyful but laced with an ache, a reminder of the battles their family faced. Would this be a breakthrough or just another moment that ended in disappointment? The line began to move, and whirling lights greeted the group as they boarded the Ferris wheel. Emily was seated between two kids, and as the wheel began to turn, Sarah felt her heart race. "Mom!" Emily called out, waving enthusiastically from her seat as they began to ascend. Sarah chuckled, a mix of worry and joy flooding her senses. Suddenly, the Ferris wheel swung high into the night sky, and Emily's laughter rang out, pure and unfiltered. It rose into the air, intermingling with the stars around them and breaking the fearful web Sarah had woven in her mind. "Look at her, Sarah!" she asked, glowing. Jake laughed. His eyes sparkled with admiration, and it warmed her heart despite lingering doubts. "Just a moment, right?" she murmured back, half to herself, caught between the radiant highs and the expectations that clung to her like fallen leaves. Was this just a moment, or the dawning of something new? As the ride continued, each rotation forced Sarah to confront her own hesitations. What if this joy was fleeting? What if the dark shadows of school and life crashed back down? And yet, seeing Emily laughing, bathed in the glow of lights, birthed a fragile kind of hope she was reluctant to let go of. "Trust in this moment," Jake whispered, echoing her earlier thoughts. A gentle wind stirred the air, and with it came the question, could she truly trust? Suddenly, their eyes locked, and for a heartbeat, it felt like everything they had been through hung in the balance. What did it mean to embrace this flicker of happiness? Just then, as the wheel reached its highest point, Emily threw her hands in the air and let out an ecstatic scream. In that instant, it seemed like the world below melted away, and every doubt dissipated until it didn't. Is this it? Sarah thought, her heartbeat racing. Would she let herself leap into something new or cling tight to the past? As the Ferris wheel began to descend, the question loomed larger than ever: how did one truly move forward, when the past constantly tugged at their hearts? The Ferris wheel descended slowly, and Emily's delighted screams echoed in Sarah's ears. At that moment, it felt as if the world shifted. Time seemed to stretch, and the buzz of the fair dimmed just enough for her to hear her pounding heart. What she wouldn't give to bottle up this joy and carry it home. What if she stays like this? What if she stays happy? Sarah thought, trying to grasp the fleeting sensation. She couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was brewing beneath the surface of this calm. Would the shadows of doubt return when the ride ended? Emily's seat lowered closer to the ground, and her eyes sparkled with excitement. The other children cheered and giggled, their laughter spilling over like a stream. "Can we go again?" Emily shouted, her spirit luminous and alive. "Of course, we can," Jake replied, his own face alive with joy. "How about after the carousel?" "Hooray!" Emily beamed, a glow of confidence radiating from her. And just like that, the brief moment of doubt faded. Maybe she really could do this: spend time with friends, laugh freely, just like everyone else. As the ride came to an end, Emily jumped out, her small feet hitting the ground with purpose. Sarah spotted her, rounding a group of kids, ecstatic and unfurling like a flower under the sun. In that moment, it didn't matter about school or whispers behind her back. All that counted was the bliss that wrapped around her like warm, comforting arms. "Wow, Em! You were amazing!" Jake said, tousling her hair as they regrouped. Confidence burst from Emily, and Sarah felt a flicker of pride swell within her at the sound of her daughter's laughter. With renewed energy, they made their way to the carousel. The music was enchanting, the lights twinkling as it spun with a captivating rhythm. As Emily hopped onto a shimmering unicorn, her joyful smile held back Sarah's fears, if only for now. Yet lurking in the corners of her mind was that insistent whisper of uncertainty. She watched the other parents, laughing, carefree amid the excitement, and felt the familiar knots start to tighten in her stomach. Could she do this? Could she let go of the fear that gripped her heart like a vice? The carousel rose and fell, each rotation reflecting the swirling colors in the air. Emily's laughter pierced right through Sarah's worries. Watching her daughter on that unicorn, arms outstretched like she was flying, made Sarah feel dizzy with an impending reckoning. That child was so brave. But could Sarah learn to be brave too? As they stepped off the carousel, Emily dashed to grab some cotton candy with Jake and the others. Sarah felt Jake's hand on her back, a comforting presence that reminded her of the leap Emily had just taken. He was so sure of everything, so able to embrace the chaos. Look at them. They're all smiles. Jake's voice broke through her thoughts. You see? They're living in this moment, not worrying about tomorrow. You're right. Sarah finally breathed, the tension beginning to lift. But deep down, an unseen tide still ebbed and flowed, the thought of Emily returning to school gnawing at her. I wish I could believe it's enough. Just let her enjoy tonight. One moment at a time. Jake's words were soothing, but doubt persisted in her chest, like a shadow that wouldn't fade. Then the unmistakable sound of crying sliced through the laughter. A little girl stood at the other end of the fair, tears streaming down her cheeks, and in an instant, Sarah's attention shifted from her own worries to the child's plight. I can't let it go, can I? She thought, instinctively knowing that the night was about to take a different turn. Emily, I'll be right back, Sarah called, hurrying toward the sobbing child as Jake followed. In that moment, she felt a tug on her heart, a chance to step beyond her fears and embrace something bigger. As she reached the little girl, there was something different about this encounter, something that could potentially shift everything for Emily and for her. Just as Sarah knelt down to ask what was wrong, a soft voice echoed nearby, one full of hope and possibility. It's okay. Sometimes we just need to find our shine again. And that's when she noticed the little girl's gaze fix on a bright, dazzling ring that had fallen from her pocket, a ring that sparkled even brighter than the stars above. What was this moment about to reveal? The tears on the little girl's cheeks shimmered like dewdrops in the moonlight as she pointed to the fallen ring. My mom gave me that, she sobbed, her tiny fingers trembling. Sarah's heart twisted. Kneeling in front of her felt both empowering and daunting. It's okay, honey. We'll find it together, she said softly, trying to infuse comfort into her words. The little girl sniffled, her big, watery eyes searching Sarah's face. But it sparkled so bright. Now it's gone forever. Jake stepped a little closer, taken in by the moment. The fair lights reflected off the ring, casting a soft glow around them. Sarah's hand instinctively reached to touch the girl's shoulder. Hey, let's look right here. Sometimes things feel lost, but we can find them again. Just keep your heart open, she smiled gently to encourage her. As they all bent down, searching the ground where the girl had stood, an odd calm settled over Sarah. This wasn't simply about a lost ring. It was a reminder that life was filled with unexpected turns. The more she focused on helping, the more connected she felt to each moment. Suddenly, Emily appeared, her cotton candy in one hand and a look of concern on her face. Mom, are you okay? Everything's good, sweetie. We're helping her find her ring. Sarah gestured to the little girl, who now sat down in the grass with a glimmer of hope beginning to replace her tears. Emily crouched beside them, her adventure-seeking spirit glowing. What does it look like? She asked, her tone earnest and inquisitive. It's shiny, the girl replied, her voice lifting slightly as she chipped away at her sorrow. Like magic. The search continued, but now Emily was throwing herself into it with a passion. Jake joined in, lifting fallen candy wrappers and peeking under nearby benches. Sarah admired her daughter's determination, feeling a swell of pride. As they combed through the grass, laughter began to bubble up again. Emily made a game of finding imaginary treasures, her infectious energy pulling the other two along. For every piece of trash Emily found, the little girl giggled, as if each litter was a unicorn waiting to be discovered. Then, just when it seemed like they might never find it, a flash of silver caught Sarah's eye. There, nestled softly against the roots of a small tree, was the ring. She gasped, feeling a rush of warmth bubbling in her chest. "Look!" she shouted, beckoning everyone over. "Is that it?" the little girl exclaimed, rushing to her side. Sarah handed the ring over, and the girl's face lit up like the fair's dazzling lights. With trembling hands, the child slipped it back onto her finger. "You found my shine!" she cried, throwing her arms around Sarah's waist. In that moment, Sarah felt an undeniable connection to this girl and to the power of kindness. "We're all meant to shine," she whispered, meeting the child's gaze. From a distance, Emily watched the scene unfold, her eyes bright. Sarah could see the wheels turning in her daughter's mind, an understanding dawning that went beyond words. Maybe this night held more than just laughter and rides. Perhaps it was about building connections and being present. As the little girl bounded away, skipping back to her parents, Sarah felt the ache in her heart shift. She turned to Emily, who rushed into her embrace. "Mom, can we do things like that more often? Helping people?" Her daughter's question settled in Sarah's heart. "Absolutely, Emily. It's the best kind of adventure," she replied, holding her close for a moment. But just as the world felt right, the night sky darkened slightly. A distant rumble echoed through the fairgrounds, a warning of approaching rain. "Looks like a storm might be coming," Jake noted, glancing towards the horizon. In a way, Sarah thought, a thread of worry sneaking back into her mind, this is only the beginning. The fair, with all its joy and chaos, was still fragile. And as they turned to walk towards the food booths to share one last moment of laughter, she felt the surge of anxiety return. What could this storm mean for Emily? "Let us stick together," she said, glancing at Emily and Jake. They nodded, eyes sparkling with the thrill of the fair, though the air felt thick with change. Little did they know, the storm was about to bring revelations that neither of them could foresee. What awaited them in the unfolding night? The wind picked up, swirling around them, sending a chill down Sarah's spine. She tightened her grip on Emily's hand, the warmth grounding her against the sudden bite of the cool air. Jake looked towards the sky, his brow furrowing as the first drops of rain began to fall, splattering against the pavement, and mingling with the sweet scent of cotton candy still lingering in the air. "Let us get some funnel cake before it pours," Jake suggested, with a bright optimism that seemed to push away the darkening clouds. His voice was a beacon, a reminder that amidst any storm, they could find comfort in the simplest pleasures. "Yeah! I want some!" Emily exclaimed, her face lighting up again. She bounced on her toes, a spark of joy igniting despite the thunder rolling overhead. As they moved toward the food stand, a sudden flash illuminated the sky, followed by a cracking sound that made them all jump. Sarah instinctively pulled Emily closer. Her heart raced not just from the thunder but from the strange uncertainty of the moment. Some part of her felt as if the fair wasn't just a celebratory gathering but a threshold to something deeper. "Just a little rain," Jake said, trying to keep his voice light, but there was a tremor in it that didn't go unnoticed. Sarah could see it in his eyes. He, too, felt the weight of the night. They ordered their funnel cakes, the warm sweetness filling the air around them. With each bite, Sarah's worries melted away briefly. Laughter bubbled between Emily and Jake as they coated their pastries in powdered sugar, the white dust spilling onto their fingers and cheeks. Just then, a woman rushed by, her drenched hair clinging to her face. She spotted them and halted, eyes wide with desperation. "Please! Can you help?" she called, her voice nearly drowned out by the rumbling skies. Sarah's heart clenched. The urgency in the woman's tone was palpable. "Of course," Sarah replied, stepping forward. "What do you need?" "My daughter!" she exclaimed, her voice cracking. "I lost her in the crowd. She is small, wearing a pink jacket. Her name is Mia." Images flashed through Sarah's mind, so many children running and laughing, the bright colors of their clothing blending into a sea of faces. Her stomach twisted. Emily wasn't much bigger than that. We'll help you find her, Sarah assured the frantic mother, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. Jake bent down, locking eyes with Emily. Stay close, okay? We need to stick together. Can you see her over there? Emily pointed towards a cluster of people gathering near the Ferris wheel, the light flickering as the storm approached, casting fleeting shadows. The woman followed the pointed finger and rushed together with them into the crowd, desperation laced with hope in each hurried step. Sarah felt Emily cling to her hand tightly. Mom, what if we can't find her? An unsettling feeling gripped Sarah tightly. We will find her, honey. The whole fair is here, and people are good. She wanted to believe her own words, but doubt whispered in her ear. As they moved deeper into the crowd, the rain started coming down harder. Drops splashed against their skin, drenching them in a matter of moments. Sarah felt her heart race again, not just for the lost girl, but for the growing sense of urgency. The fair was quickly turning into a chaotic frenzy, rides stopping, vendors calling out, people scrambling for shelter. It was as if the joyful atmosphere had been sucked from the air, leaving panic behind. Mia! The woman cried out again, her voice barely audible over the downpour. The crowd continued to swell, moving like a mass of stirred bees, confusion everywhere. Then Sarah spotted a flicker of pink. Over there! She shouted, pointing. She felt the adrenaline surge as they surged forward together, hearts racing, driving them toward hope. But then, she caught a glimpse of something unexpected. A child stood alone, not far from where they were headed. Her heart lurched as she recognized the little girl, the same that had lost her ring. Emily! Jake! Sarah shouted, breaking through the throng. Instinctively moving toward the child. As the rain poured down, she reached out. All at once, the storm seemed less daunting, and she could see the chance to save a connection far bigger than just a lost ring or a lost daughter. But in that moment of clarity, as she reached for the girl, Sarah's unexpected leap would bring something truly transformative. Would it be the answer she never anticipated? Just as Sarah's fingers brushed against the child's small shoulder, the girl's eyes widened with recognition. She was scared, alone, amidst the swirling chaos of the fair, but as Sarah knelt down to meet her gaze, there was a flicker of relief. Are you Mia? Sarah asked softly, hoping the small spark of hope she felt could change everything. No, the girl said, shaking her head, tears mixing with the rain that continued to pour down. I'm Sophie. She wiped a tear away, her voice trembling slightly. Is my mom coming? Sarah's heart sank. Okay, Sophie. Let us find her together, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. This wasn't the girl they were looking for, but perhaps helping this one would lead them to Mia. Behind her, Jake and Emily rushed up. Mom, is she the one? Emily asked, looking between Sarah and the girl. No, sweetheart, Sarah said gently. But we can't leave her here. The urgency of the situation pulsed through her. The rain was relentless, and the screams of laughter seemed a world away. She felt small in this growing storm, yet buoyed by a fierce need to keep everyone safe. Hold on to my hand, Sarah instructed Sophie, intertwining her fingers with the girl's. Emily held on to her other hand, feeling like a lifeline for both of them. Where did you see your mom last, Sophie? Jake asked, scanning the shifting crowd. I think, over by the balloons. Sophie pointed, her voice still shaky, but something in her eyes spoke of trust. With a nod of determination, they began to weave their way through the mass of people, each step heavy with purpose. As they turned the corner near the balloon stand, a flash of pink caught Sarah's eye, a jacket very similar to what Mia was said to wear. Mia! Sarah called out instinctively, hoping against hope that they might be led to the right place. Sophie's grip tightened. You think that's her? Maybe, Sarah replied breathlessly, the thrumming of her heart matching the pounding rain. But as they got closer, her heart sank again. A woman stood there, holding Sophie, but it wasn't Mia's mother. I'm sorry! I thought she was, the woman said, looking guilty, as if they just crossed paths in the midst of chaos. They pressed on, hardly able to absorb the frustration threatening to choke them. The rain continued its relentless assault, the chaotic sounds of the fair now drowned by their mounting concern. "Mia!" Emily joined the chorus, calling out now, as if her voice could pierce through the storm and bring back the little girl lost. Suddenly, Sarah spotted a glimmer of pink amid the throngs. It was just a flash, and hope surged through her before doubt crept back in. Was she imagining things? "Keep looking," Jake encouraged, standing taller, searching every face. The determination on his face mirrored Sarah's own. Time seemed to slow, the rain soaking them to the bone while the fair turned into a shadowy maze. Each heartbeat became louder than the last, beating in time with her growing fear. Then a small voice broke through, tentative yet hopeful. "Mom?" Sophie froze, and all eyes turned to the source of the sound. "Mom!" she wailed again as a figure emerged from the crowd, her mother, drenched but alive with relief. The sight propelled Sarah forward. She felt overwhelmed by relief for this little girl, yet still trapped in her own turmoil. "What of Mia?" As Sophie rushed into her mother's arms, Sarah couldn't shake the lurking dread. Unlocking that connection had saved someone tonight, but would it be enough to guide her to the answers she desperately sought? "Keep searching," Jake shouted suddenly, jolting her back. "Okay," Sarah replied, her voice steadier than she felt. Lifting her chin, she forced the doubt from her mind. But the next moment, as Sarah moved through the shifting crowd, she caught something. A glimpse of a pink jacket, a familiar figure. It stopped her dead in her tracks, eyes wide. Could this be Mia? Could it really be her standing just a few feet away? In that chaotic blur there was a chance. A chance to grasp fate by the shoulders. Would she reach out, or would the moment slip away again into the storm? Sarah stood frozen, her heart racing as she tried to take in the sight ahead of her. There, just a few feet away, was a small figure in a pink jacket, back facing her but undeniably familiar. The chaos swirled around her, the rain drumming a hectic rhythm, but all she could focus on was that flash of pink. "Emily, Jake, I think I see her," she yelled, urgency flooding her voice. She didn't wait for a response. She pressed forward, weaving around the gathering crowd. Every step felt monumental, as if she were moving through thick mud instead of the chaos of the fair. Please let it be her, she thought, desperation tightening her chest. The voices around her faded, each beat of her heart amplifying her wish for it to be true. The closer she got, the more details snapped into focus: the pink jacket, the little girl's small stature. It wasn't just a figment of her imagination, it was real. She reached out, ready to call Mia's name when the girl turned. Her heart dropped. It wasn't Mia, it was just another child, lost like Sophie had been. The sadness swept over her like the cold rain, latching onto her shoulders, pulling her down. But she couldn't stop. She had to keep searching. "Come on, we have to keep going," Sarah encouraged her family as she fought against the tide of despair. Emily kept close behind her, eyes wide with both hope and concern. Jake kept scanning the crowd, but he too felt the weight of defeat. "Mom, I'm scared," Emily whispered, her tiny voice barely audible over the rain. "I know, sweetheart," Sarah said, squeezing Emily's hand. "We'll find her. We have to believe that." But how could she believe when the thought of Mia not being found was a knife in her heart? Each face in the crowd blurred together, each pair of eyes promising nothing but uncertainty. Then, a loud gasp echoed nearby. It was Sophie's mother, frantically searching for her husband in the crowd. Her emotions raw, she clutched her daughter tightly. "Over there!" Sophie suddenly pointed, her little face lighting up. "Mommy! That way!" Everyone turned in unison as the girl led them in the direction of the game booths that stood in a neat line, bright lights flickering in the dim and wet air. Was it just a sign of hope amidst their fear, or could it truly lead to Mia? They hurried along, determination igniting in their hearts once more. Sarah kept her eyes peeled, every inch of her straining to catch a glimpse of that little figure among the throng. Without warning, a loud commotion erupted from a rickety ride nearby. The Ferris wheel, one of the tallest attractions, was slowing down, spinning abruptly as if something had gone wrong. Shouts and panic erupted from the fairgoers. Sarah's heart raced anew. There's no time, she yelled, pulling Jake and Emily closer as they edged back from the chaos. Mom! Emily shouted, her voice trembling, grabbing her mother's arm. What if she's on there? The thought sent chills down Sarah's spine. The Ferris wheel was one of Mia's favorite rides. We have to check. The family rushed toward the attraction, pushing through the masses of people who were either fleeing or trying to catch a glimpse of what was happening. As they reached the base, Sarah saw operators rushing to secure the ride and help people off. Mia! She screamed again, her voice cracking, echoing through the loud murmurs of the crowd. Suddenly, from the very top of the Ferris wheel, a small figure came into view, the unmistakable pink jacket waving like a flag in the wind. Mia! Sarah shouted, her breath catching in her throat. But as the ride began to halt completely, would it be too late to reach out, to pull Mia back into safety? Time hung in the air, thick with anxiety, as they waited for the carousel to come to a stop and for that moment to become a reality. Would it be the reunion they so desperately craved, or another wave of heartbreak? As the Ferris wheel slowly lurched to a halt, the crowd held their breath. Every face turned upward, eyes wide with anticipation and fear. Sarah's heart pounded like a drum in her chest. Would Mia be okay? Mia! We're here! She shouted, desperation coloring her voice. The girl at the top, shaking, looked down. Their eyes met. For a fleeting moment, hope flickered in Mia's terrified expression. She was frozen on the ride, her little hands gripping tight. The weight of the world felt heavy on Sarah, every second dragging like hours. Mia! Emily cried out, her voice piercing through the tension. You're going to be okay. Just hold on. In that heartbeat, Mia seemed to steady, her small frame breathing in the encouragement that surged from below. With a slight nod, she gathered courage and clutched the bar even tighter. Mom, I'm scared, she called out, her voice tremulous but determined. Just breathe, sweetheart, we're coming for you, Sarah yelled, forcing a smile through the lump in her throat to show her both love and strength. Though the situation was chaotic, she believed this was a moment that would define the strength within all of them. It was a spark. As the ride came to a complete stop, operators scrambled to get everyone off. Sarah took a deep breath, each heartbeat resonating with the hope of a reunion. The surge of the crowd pushed them closer together, unaware of the power gripping their little unit. Finally, the ride unlocked, and people started to disembark. Sarah's heart raced. Would Mia be one of them? The crowd parted like waves, and there she was, her pink jacket a bright beacon in the desperate sea. Mia! Sarah shouted again, tears streaming down her cheeks as she rushed forward. Mia leaped from the platform, flinging herself into Sarah's arms. The world melted away. They were enveloped in a cocoon of warmth, a shield against the chaos. I thought I lost you, Sarah cried, clutching Mia close. In that embrace, everything else faded. The storm, the noise, the fear, they all fell silent. Just love remained, swallowing them in its glow. Emily rushed forward, wrapping her arms around both of them. We found you. You're okay. Her excitement bubbled like the sweetest soda, and Sarah felt the knot of worry uncoil in her chest. This was the family. This was their moment of triumph. Tears shimmered down Mia's cheeks, but her smile broke through, radiant and joyous. I was scared, Mom, she cried, burying her face into Sarah's shoulder. But then I remembered what you always said, love is magic, and magic brings you back. Sarah chuckled through her tears. That's right, my girl. The weight of her worries faded, revealing the warmth of possibility. Together, we can face anything. As they pulled back, Jake stepped closer, witnessing the miracle unfold. His heart swelled as Emily circled her arms around Mia again, an unbreakable bond forming before their eyes. You did it, Mia. You showed everyone your shine. He beamed, his eyes glinting with admiration. In that instant, something shifted within Sarah. She could surrender to love, embrace the uncertainty, and still protect her family. She wasn't just a single mother anymore. She was part of a community anchored to strength and resilience. Thank you, she whispered to Jake, her voice thick with gratitude. You were right here with us. Always, he replied, his smile echoing the promise they had began crafting. The night sky flickered with remnants of fireworks, heralding new beginnings. As the rain poured down, they stood together, huddled under the storm their storm. But instead of fear, hope enveloped them. It wasn't just about the fair. It was about love raw and real, even through challenges. Are you guys hungry? Jake asked, breaking the moment, his friendly tone inviting the warmth of laughter again. Emily and Mia giggled, wiping away their tears, their spirits soaring higher than any Ferris wheel could ascend. Funnel cake? Mia squealed, her eyes sparkling, and Sarah couldn't help the joy spreading through her heart. Let us celebrate, Sarah agreed, her spirit lighter than air. Through laughter and light, they began to move back toward the scent of sweet pastries and laughter echoing all around them. Together, they faced the chaos as a family together, grounded in love's promise. And that promise consumed Sarah's thoughts, wrapping her in a tender embrace. What had started as an evening full of fear transformed into a powerful realization. They held the magic to face every storm that life might throw their way. The night would end, but their journey would continue, the true adventure just beginning. As they stepped away from the chaos, under gleaming lights, the truth pulsed softly in their hearts. They were a united front, and together, they would redefine their world with kindness, bravery, and laughter. And as the night whispered in the background, she felt something profound shift. Maybe, just maybe, love really was enough. Now, if this story resonated with you, here's the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to never miss another incredible tale like this. Leave a like now to feed that algorithm and help others discover this magic. And after you've commented below on your reactions and feelings about this uplifting ending, don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful transformation. Let us spread hope together.